Ryan Pace, the Bears general manager, met with reporters on Friday virtually and explained that with the addition of quarterback Nick Foles, it's exactly what we talked about from the start. We want to create competition. We've talked to both players, and it's an open competition. That's a far cry from the comments that were made by Pace earlier this year that Mitchell Trubisky is their guy for 2020. He's only their guy if he beats out Nick Foles, Chris. I don't think we should be surprised by this. They traded for Nick Foles' contract. He's making more money than Trubisky. At a minimum, it's an open competition. At most, it's Foles' job, and Trubisky has to take it from him.
Agreed. To me, it's Foles in the lead for sure, without a doubt. I mean, first off, the Bears fans, everybody that's associated with the Bears, I mean, there's just going to be anarchy. Mitchell Trubisky's become a lightning rod conversation for that fan base. They look at him as being the downfall of the football team. And, of course, nobody can get over the fact that he was drafted before Watson and Mahomes, and I get all of that. But, yeah, as it sits here right now, Mike, I mean, if Trubisky beats out Nick Foles, and it's not just absolutely he's playing phenomenal in the preseason and Foles is playing horrible, people are going to be like, what? We're starting Trubisky? They almost have to start Foles and let him fail then to bring Trubisky back into the fold. I think if they started Trubisky to start the season or like that way, it's going to be anarchy. People aren't going to like it. And it's going to put tremendous pressure on Trubisky because every time he makes one little mistake, people are going to go, get him out. Let's get Nick Foles in. So I'm with you. I feel like they're almost forced to give Nick Foles the advantage in this situation.
And even though Foles is the newcomer, he has exactly the same amount of experience now with Coach Matt Nagy as Trubisky does. 2 years. 2012. Now, Nagy was far from the head coach in Philadelphia in 2012, but they were together there, and they were together in 2016 when Nagy was the offensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. And Foles was drafted by Andy Reid specifically to run the system that Nagy is running. And Trubisky has been the square peg in the round hole for 2 years. That's another advantage for Nick Foles, Chris.
Yes, it definitely is. I mean, yeah, he's got common knowledge this offseason, and the weirdness of all of it and the uncertainty of all of it is not going to affect Nick Foles. But, hey, listen, we talk about Foles and Trubisky and all that, and that's great. But at the same time, Matt Nagy is going to have to conform too. His offense, his scheme, the NFL caught on to it last year. It is not an impressive scheme. It lacks creativity. There's nothing special about it when you break it down. He needs to, up his game a little bit too to help the quarterback succeed. Now, how much is that him holding things back because maybe he doesn't feel Mitch Trubisky's, able to handle the full load of the offense? I don't know. I hear rumors that is part of the issue. But either way, I don't like the way it's looked at offense the last few years. And not necessarily that I was in love with it the year before when they went to the playoffs either. Of course, they got to the playoffs because they were a defensive football team. So there's issues there altogether at the quarterback position. And I certainly would think Nick Foles is the leader in the clubhouse as we sit here right now.
I remember someone being very salty throughout the 2018 season because of Matt Nagy's comments about the offense and being able to use more of it with Mitchell Trubisky. But look, that's the reality. And that's why, hey, if Ryan Pace wants to get the most out of Mitchell Trubisky, maybe you hire a different coach than Matt Nagy because Nagy's eventually going to want to go in a different direction if Trubisky doesn't fit what Nagy's trying to do. Now, look, they got to the playoffs together in 2018. Didn't work last year. We'll see how it plays out this year. And the lack of an offseason program, not as much of a factor because Foles knows the system and we'll be ready to go day one. And the other beauty of Foles, and then we got to take a break, Chris, but if he loses somehow the starting job to Mitchell Trubisky, he's not going to sulk, he's not going to mope, he's not going to get a voodoo doll and start jamming, pins into the kneecaps of Mitchell Trubisky. He will support him as best he can because he's been there, he's done that, and he's done his best work coming off the bench as a backup.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.